hello, and a very warm welcome to you, my dear students. I take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to this new year of calendar, that is 2021. I wish each one of you and your entire family a very happy and a prosperous new year. I've written it here even on the whiteboard. I wish each one of you, my dear students, as you all are aware with the fact that we did not get an opportunity to meet one another in person, I still continue with my online teaching mode. And as I mentioned before, my dear students, I've already completed the 7 chapters of history and 4 chapters of political science. There is one more chapter that I need to complete. In fact, in all, I have written it here. There are totally 7 chapters in history, and I'll bring the camera a little closer, my dear students, and 4 chapters in political science. So you have total 11 chapters for your board exam, which will be in the month of May. Now, today I'm not going to discuss a lot of things, but yes, something very, very important. Just a reminder to each one of you, my dear student, notes to be completed by 26th of January 2021. In your hand, you have totally 22 days. So if I say 11 chapters, for each chapter you have 2 days. So that means your 11 chapters should get completed on the 26th. You need to submit the notebook to me the day I will tell you once you finish writing all the notes by 26th of January 2021. Now you can see here, my dear students, 4th of January 2021, which is my first lecture for this brand new year. Okay. And I take this opportunity once again to thank each one of you for subscribing and watching my videos. I'm so impressed, touched, happy with some of the students who clarified their doubts. Your first terminal exam was just a step for your board exam. Now, your prelims that are going to be, my dear students, will not be online. Let me be very clear. Your prelims exams will be conducted in school. How, when, the timetable, and everything will be given to you in detail. But let me just remind you, my dear students, that your portion for your board exam, that is 2021, chapter number 4 and chapter number 6 is being deleted for your board exam, whereas chapter number 5 in political science is being deleted. In total, you have 11 chapters, as I mentioned before. Now, today, I'm going to discuss with you, my friend, about the presentation part of your book. Now, please remember, my dear student, you are going to prepare a 200 pages notebook. And this notebook should be written in a very systematic manner. Right from question number 1, all the questions are available in your textbook. The answers are available. You need to write it down, my dear students. And don't write it only for the sake of writing. I will give you marks, and these marks are going to go for your board exam, my dear students. So as you sow, so shall you reap. जैसी आपकी फिरनी वैसा मेरा फातिहा. The kind of quality work you will give me, the quality marks you will get. And please remember to watch my videos. I'm sorry to say, standard 10th, especially, you are not watching the videos that are being uploaded by the teachers. How do I come to know? Because every day I check how many views I have got to the particular chapter. So it's my humble request, these being the last chapter, my dear student, and the last, I will not say the video because there may be many videos that will be followed by this, though I may complete my portion by the next video that you will get to see online. Whenever we meet in the classroom, my dear students, and we are surely going to meet this academic year, you do have very few days in your hand, my dear student. Please prepare yourself. Do not leave the subject history and English for the last minute. I always say that, if you have the command over the language and if you know what the subject and the words are, you'll find it easy to write your board paper. Develop the habit of writing. Don't complete it because you have to submit something, but rather please complete it before time. This being the first video, it's my humble request to all the 10th standard students. Please pay in your fees, my dear students. You have to submit your board form along with 500 rupees. You have to pay your fees right from the month of June till the month of May. Please, it's my humble request. I said, and I'm repeating it again, only the building has changed. The teaching has not changed at all. So without wasting much of your time and my time, my dear student, let me begin with the last chapter of history. That is chapter number 9. That is heritage management. Now, when we use the word heritage, my dear students, let me tell you the word heritage includes all those monuments, the artifacts, the scriptures, the sculptures, which needs to be preserved and conserved by us. And what management we are talking about? We are going to talk about heritage management as to how we need to manage with this. And in this context, there are totally 4 subtopics: sources of history, the conservation and preservation, which I'll complete in today's video. The 9.2, some famous museums, not only in India, but even abroad, which we will discuss in the next video of mine. 9.3, that is libraries and archives. Again, I'm going to discuss it in the next video. And the last one, that is 9.4, is going to be encyclopedia. Now, when we are talking about the very first topic, the sources of history, the conservation and preservation, let me tell you, my dear students, that remember these 2 words. I have mentioned it before. I'm repeating it again. CP, conservation and preservation. The conservation and preservation plays an important role in heritage management. Or rather, your entire chapter that today we are going to discuss, we are going to go in detail with the textbook word to word. And maybe, my next presentation of video will be using the textbook page where, you can only listen to my audio. I think many of you are really tired of looking at the same face, but I said a brand new year. So let me at least, have that kind of feeling that I'm teaching in the classroom. And let me tell you, my dear students, I'm so happy and touched when, some of the students, they give their feedback. They call me up and say, sir, can you adjust the light of the board? We cannot read sometimes. And that is why I bring the camera closer. I am not the teacher, who will let the things go, my dear students. And I always mention this, and I'm repeating it again for the last time, being the last chapter of history. If you have any doubts, my dear student, please take my phone number, make a call and clarify your doubts. Remember the 3 R's that I always talk about: read, recap and review. And I hope by 26th of January, you are going to complete the entire notebook of history. Those from 10C will also complete your English notebook. This is just a reminder to you, my dear students. Now let me begin with the chapter, that is heritage management. So when we talk about heritage management, let us realize that the sources of history and all the history books that are available today are the result of the diligent work of several historians. Whatever documents, whatever material that is available, it's because of the systematic work of several historians who do this work. And what do they include? Like, which are the institute that work for it? It includes a very simple word for you to remember, that is LAM, L-A-M. So what is LAM? Libraries, archives and museums. Okay, please remember that. So what is LAM? L-A-M, LAM. What is LAM? Libraries, archives and museums. What do they do, sir? They preserve and conserve this precious historical heritage. Now, when they preserve and they conserve this historical documents, my friend, they choose an important specimens from the heritage. Like, for example, let's say, I'm just giving an example. If there are 10 monuments, or if there are 10 sculptures, or if there are 10 statues, they will not display all these statues in the museum. They will only display one of it. So this will be a kind of specimen which is being displayed either by libraries, archives or museums. And not only that, they also publish and exhibit them. Where do they publish, sir? They publish it in research journals, informative pamphlets, leaflets, posters and etc. Now these documents and artifacts which are not exhibited, but they are very much historically important. They are need to be stored in the museums and archives after completing necessary treatment for their conservation and preservation, my dear students. Now these monuments, these sculptures, these statues, these documents, they are being preserved. And there is a very systematic method that needs to be followed, of which you need to know about it more if at all you're planning to do your MA in history, if at all you're planning to do your MA in numismatics and archaeology. There is an entire method or a procedure that is being followed. And what is this method and procedure that is being followed as to how to preserve what? The documents, the materials. Let's say, for example, you have a very old book, which was written, let's say, a manuscript, let's say, written with hand. Now, can it be kept in open for the display of the people where anybody and everybody can handle it the way they want? What will happen? Within a day or two, all the pages will be out. So what it needs to be done? They need to be preserved and they need to be conserved, my dear student. So there is a procedure that is being followed. See, preservation and conservation is not the way that you imagine your own notebook sometime. Within a span of 1 year, it's torn into pieces sometime, right? And we are talking about those historical documents, the documents and the artifacts, why they are required to be preserved, sir, so that can be made available to the researcher as and whenever necessary. Those researchers who are intending to do research in the various fields. Libraries, what do, sir? They conserve, they preserve and manage the book. So that is why, my dear student, we are going to deal with this lesson today, where we are going to now talk about the sources of history, their conservation and preservation. Now, everything begins with step 1. Are you getting it? Now, when you talk about sources of history, their conservation and preservation, each step is important. What are these steps, sir? Like collecting the sources of history, then creating the records and the indexes. See, it's not necessary that we just collect, but you should know where it is kept. You should know the index of it. Okay. Exhibiting the manuscripts. Now, what is manuscript? As I said, written with hand. Old books are there, my dear students. So all this needs to be preserved and conserved, not only for the researchers, not only for the historians, so that they can do a research or they can know more about it, but even for the generations to come, as and when they are interested in knowing about our past, as and when they are interested in knowing about the glorious history of our country. So it is the requirement, it is essential, it is important. For this reason, we need to do what? We need to conserve and we need to preserve. Please remember the two words, my dear friend, CP. Okay. Now what is CP? C stands for conservation and P stands for preservation. Now when we are conserving and preserving these documents, manuscripts, records, artifacts, they are very much essential, not only in order so that we know about it, we can inform our next generation about it, but it is very, very important that we need to let know our next generation as to why these documents are important. There is a systematic method that is being followed, and for which it is the duty not only of the government to preserve and conserve, but even our duty that when we go to visit such places, the archives, or when we go to museums to see these places, it is even our moral, social duty to preserve these documents, my dear students. We do not damage it. If you see, many of our monuments are being damaged by many of them. So when we are talking about, my dear student, about preservation and conservation, we need to understand that who can preserve and who can conserve. There are people who have this specific skill. There are trained people who are qualified to do this task. And that is why, as I said, that after your graduation, you can become a museum curator. So there is a particular kind of training that goes on, my dear students. So very carefully handling all the documents, all the old books, the manuscript. Now, sir, what are these documents? Now, you remember we talked about, or we discussed about the three sources of history: the oral source, the written source, and what you call it as the material source. Now, oral sources of history are very important. Collecting and compiling of folk songs and folk tales, etc. Now, what is collecting and compiling? Putting it together. You know that the folk songs are different in different regions. The folk song of Rajasthan is different. The folk song of Gujarat is different. The folk song and folk tales of Maharashtra is different. So what happens, my dear student, is these folk tales, these folk songs, they need to be preserved. Why? Because they are oral sources of history. And how can we preserve, how can we conserve them? By collecting and compiling it together. Are you getting it? So we need to understand that these documents, they need to be handled in a very systematic manner. So the very first point that we discussed about is oral sources of history. Okay, please remember this: oral sources of history. Now I'm not going to go much into detail about it, my dear students, because I've already discussed what are the oral sources, what are the written sources, and what are the material sources. But let me tell you that these compiling, when you talk about, putting it together, it has to be done according to the period that these culture or these songs or these tales were being said. Now, this kind of preservation and conservation are being done by the archives. If at all you're planning, Indira Gandhi National Open University conducts a course which is called as Postgraduate Diploma in Folklore Stories. Are you getting it? So you can read, you can study, and you can know about the tradition, about the folk song and the folk tales. Now, those who are from the various parts of our country, India, try to find out more about the folk song. There are songs which are related to occasions. Are you getting it? For example, in Punjab, for every occasion there is a song. Are you with me, my dear students? So we need to create this record. We need to create the indexes. We need to, carefully, you can call it as tackle in the sense, we need to carefully take utmost due care, because they are a sources of history. And very important, along with that, we need to classify them. We need to classify them according to the period. We need to analyze. We need to interpret. Now, interpreting is very important. And when can you interpret? When you have the in-depth knowledge of the folklore and the folklore songs. And then we can put the material together. And once all that is being done, my dear student, the results can be published. And what are the results published called as? They are called as research, my dear students. So there are many students, many historians, many people, who take interest in the subject of history. And what do? They do an analytical research. They do a thorough study, and they put it in a form of a research project. In many CBSE school and ICSE school, the students are being given project. You are lucky, my dear students. State board is not following this trend of doing research. A 5th standard student knows what is a research. By the time they come to the 10th standard, they have already completed with a big research that they can do. And for all this, my dear student, there is a necessary training. See, nothing can be achieved without training. So what is there? There is a necessary training. Now, training of what? Training of conserving and preserving in the different fields. Subject like sociology and anthropology. Subject like social psychology, mythology, linguistic, library science and information technology. Today it is a subject, where if at all you want to become a librarian in the school or in the college, you need to do this course. Are you getting it? So sociology, anthropology, information technology, history and historical research methods are there. There are the various methodologies of research. And then finally writing of research reports and articles. So there is a complete, as a system which needs to be followed when we talk about the necessary training. Now this kind of training is being given by whom? By those people who are expert in their field. Like for somebody who is an expert in the field of sociology, the study of society, he will give you the idea, he will guide you on that topic. Anthropology, social psychology, mythology, linguistic, language, library science, all these are important areas of research, my friend. Now this was in context of oral sources of history. Now let us look at the written sources of history. Now when we say written sources of history, you all are aware this with the fact that one of the most authentic source of history is written source. Now why it is authentic, genuine? Because you can prove it at any time during the year, even in the non-presence of the person. Are you with me, my dear student? Now collecting of coins, copper plates with inscription on them. So somebody needs to decipher as to what is written on it. Then documents like official records, personal correspondence. Now many of the writers, or travelers who wrote about their journey. Official records are there, personal correspondence are there, diaries are there, historical books are there, old books are there, manuscripts, pictures, photographs. All these are the sources, or rather the written material sources for the study of history. Now, in order to understand this, we need to understand that there is a necessary mechanical and chemical process of cleaning it. See, if this document needs to be conserved and preserved, again and again, we are going to discuss about CP. If they need to be conserved and preserved, there is a mechanical and a chemical process which is involved. How to clean, how to conserve, and how to preserve these collected documents, my dear student. There is an entire organization, I really don't remember now, but if at all it comes to my mind, I'll tell you. It's something to do with North. It's an society, which preserved the documents of 16th century. Are you getting it? I'm really not able to recollect it now, but as soon as it comes to my mind, I'll definitely tell you. So there is an entire process of conservation and preservation of collected documents, ascertaining, understanding the historical value of the collected documents. Whether this document is genuine or not, who will come to know? If somebody gives me a document and says, sir, see this document is 100 years old, I need to have the knowledge of the kind of the paper that was being used, kind of the writing that was being used. Who was the writer at that time? Who are the people who were involved? So somebody can just give me a fake document. So I need to ascertain what is the value of these documents. And finally, once that document is genuine, it's original, what I can do, I can exhibit these selected documents. Not all the documents necessary. Are you getting it, my dear students? Not necessarily that everything that I get, I need to exhibit. No, some documents I need to preserve and conserve it. Some I can put it for exhibition. And once it is being received, publishing the edited documents. We can edit the document and publish it. And what form? It should be in the form of a research report. And again, I'm telling you, my dear students, for everything, whether it is in order to understand the oral sources of history or the written sources of history, there is a necessary training. Let me take you back to the 3rd to the 6th period, the period where there was script like Brahmi. Brahmi is the script language. As for example, the Marathi we write, it is called as Devanagari script. English we write, it is called as the Roman script. In the same way, Brahmi was also the kind of the script which existed in the 3rd to the 6th century. The Modi script. We are not talking about a Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but we are talking about the Modi. Modi was the script which is actually a refined form of Marathi, which we are now using it as Devanagari script. So Modi was a kind of a script which was used previously. We are talking about somewhere around 10th to the 15th century, where the Modi script was used. And now what we are writing is the pure Devanagari script, that is the Marathi language. Or whether we talk about the Persian script. So in order to know this, we need to have a necessary training, or rather understanding. Now, when we talk about Modi script, it reminds me about this famous book, Jnaneshwari. In Jnaneshwari, the Modi script is being used. So somebody needs to be able to decipher the script, understand the script, translate it for us so that we understand. And there are very few institutes now left which actually are able to identify the Brahmi language and the Modi language. And Persian, all of you know, in Iran, even today, they speak the Persian language. So the study of all this, whether the Brahmi script, whether the Modi script or the Persian script, and the development, it needs a kind of a training in order to understand the written sources of history, my dear student. And in order to know all this, we need to have the basic knowledge, my dear students. We need to have the knowledge of the social organization, the tradition, and the literature, and the culture that was existing. Try to understand, my dear students. Now, when you say dynasties, you want to understand the Vanshaj, the lineage, what you can call it as. You need to know who was the father of Chhatrapati Shiva Maharaj, who was his son, who was his grandson. So the study of the dynasties. The administrative system, if we say Akbar the Great or King Ashoka the Great, why do we call them? Because we need to study about the kind of the system that they adopted. And we need it in order to understand the past societies, my friend. See, as I told you, what is history? History is not just the study about the past. It is how do you correlate with the present, apply history. Again, I'm taking you back, my dear students. And very, very important, my dear student, that the knowledge of various schools is important. There were various schools, not school like Dominic Savio, Marathi Vidyalaya, KVK, technical. No, this school includes what? It includes the study of these styles of schools they were called as. The styles of painting that was being used, the sculpture art and the history of the development that was being brought about. JJ School of Art is a different school. Raheja School of Art is a different school. The Persian School of Art is a different school, and each school has its own speciality, my dear students. And when we are studying about the material sources, we need to have the knowledge of the type of paper that was being used at that time and the ink and the color that was used. As I said before, I'm repeating it. Somebody can just show me a document and say, sir, take this paper. This is a 100-year-old paper. You can cherish it. But when I see the quality of the paper, I come to know that this paper is a brand new page. This paper was not existing at the time. The Bagarka kind of a paper or any kind of an A4 size paper. That time, the papers were not of a very fine quality what we find it today. The one which you're going to use it to write your notebook. So one needs to know for what is required for that. For that, you require a necessary training, my dear students. The knowledge of properties of various stones and metals used for inscriptions. Now, when we're talking about the material sources, it is not just including the papers. It is not just including the various styles of painting and sculpture, even the metals and the stones that were being used. How and why do we call that this period is called as the Stone Age period? Why did we label it? Because we were able to decipher, we were able to identify. And what was inscribed on it? What was written on it? Are you getting it, my dear students? Try to understand better. That the knowledge of properties of various stones and metals used for inscriptions. And more importantly, your 6th point in the textbook says the knowledge of the equipments and chemical used in these various processes. As I mentioned, there is a proper technique, and for this proper technique, you need a necessary training. How to preserve it, how to clean it. Let's say, for example, there is an old document that has been discovered, and there have been a lot of insects on it. So what happens? There are droppings on it. So it needs to be clean. You just cannot take a kapla and, chalo, dhool uda diya uske upar. There is a proper method that needs to be followed. The cleaning is being done. And in order to follow this cleaning, each page, each line of it needs to be seen that they do not get erased or, they are not damaged, because with one word that is going to miss from the document, it will give a different perspective. It will give a different picture. Are you getting it, my dear students? So, whether it is oral source, whether it is written source, for every source material that is being found, it needs to be preserved and it needs to be conserved. And there is a process that is being followed. And when this conservation and preservation goes on, there are various approaches of managing exhibitions. Are you getting it? Various approaches you can use. You can exhibit in a museum. You can put a show in the galleries. You can use the method of information technology. And finally, and the most important, when all these research is being done, when all oral sources and material sources are being collected, if it is not being published, if they are not being published in the form of a report or in a form of an article, tell me what is the purpose of the research. Are you getting it, my dear students? So the most important thing, we need to understand that these documents, this material, the sources of oral or material sources needs to be conserved and needs to be preserved in a very systematic manner. Is it clear? Now let me take you to the last one, the material sources of history. Are you getting it? Material sources. Now you all know, like written source, material source is also the most authentic or genuine sources of understanding and knowing history. Collecting artifacts, classifying them according to the historical date and type, and preparing indexes. Now you have discovered some material and you come to know that this material was existing in the 16th century, and you got another material which shows that it was existing in the 17th century. So you need to arrange them in a systematic manner. See, whenever you get a chance to go to any museum, please have a look. Even when the arrangement is being done, the material that is being arranged, it is done according to the chronological order. In the 10th standard, there used to be a question of 2 marks, arrange the following in chronological order, which is not existing now in your board paper. So arranging them in historical dates, arranging them according to the type, and then preparing the indexes. And as I mentioned about oral sources, as I mentioned about written sources, even the material source, there is a mechanical and chemical process of cleaning these sources. See, what technique is going to be used for preserving and conserving oral sources will not be the same for written sources will not be the same technique used for material sources, because everyone is in a different category, my dear students. So the collection and the preservation of document, written will be different, oral will be different, material will be different. Please remember this. You cannot use the same stick for a dog and for a lion and for a donkey. Even in your own class, there are various categories of student. You just shout at a student and the child starts crying. Sir, I'm extremely sorry. There is a various kind of psychology that works. You tell some student you're shameless, you're of no use, still that child remains the same. There's no change in the person. So even while we are talking about conservation and preservation, whether of oral, written or material sources, there is a various process that is followed. And very important, when this oral source, when this written source, and when this material source is being researched, the exhibition of these artifacts or the replicas can be put. So you cannot bring the Taj Mahal from Agra and put it on a display here in Mumbai. But yes, you can prepare a replica of it, showing them, those people who are not able to go there, you can show them a replica. Even in Ganesh Utsav festival, this year 2020, it was not possible, but some of the Ganesh mandals, they have these replicas of the places. And, the big one was in Chembur, I remember, Tilaknagar, Chota Rajan Ganpati, it always used to have a different kind of replicas. Tirupati Balaji, Shabdamalai, all these kind of, the whole replica, they would rebuild it here. For whom? For the people to see, for the people to watch, and the people to understand. And then, and most important thing, that these artifacts were being published, these researches were being published. And then later on, it is classifying fossils of plants and animals and preparing indexes. Now, what are fossils? Fossils, as I told you, the decomposed things. When we talk about the fossil bones, when we talk about taking you standard 6th, how do we come to know about the pecking man? How do we come to know as Homo sapiens sapien? It is because of the fossil bones that have been discovered. So exhibiting the selected fossils of the replicas. Dinosaur. We have not seen dinosaur, but you can see the replica, the fossils of it is being shown. How huge the dinosaur was. How, it was being taken, how it was, it got, disappeared from our world. And finally, how we are having the fossil bones, which we are putting it in the form of a replica in some of the museums. And as I mentioned, again, I'm repeating it, my dear student, that whether oral source, whether written source, or whether material sources, all they need to have a proper necessary training. Now, again and again, when I say necessary training, the basic knowledge of archaeological method is essential here. As I told you, there is a various style of digging. If an thing is being discovered, you just cannot take, a JCB and say, come on, dig this and remove this. No, there is a method that needs to be followed. The history of ancient civilization needs to be understood. So all this is the background, my dear students, when we are talking about the necessary training. So the oral source, the written source, and the material sources, each sources can be made available for the people, for the historians, for the researchers, only if we conserve and we preserve. Now, when we are talking about this, let us not forget that the knowledge of the regional sources of materials like stones. Now, for example, Taj Mahal is built in Agra. It's built with a white marble. Now, how many of us are aware with this, that this marble is available in Rajasthan? So, it very clearly indicates that when Taj Mahal was built, the stones were being brought from Rajasthan. Are you getting it? Now, if you go to Mumbai, there is a masjid which is called as Mughal Masjid, built by the Mughals. Now, this masjid has the stone which is being brought from Iran, Persia. So the minerals, the metals, and the clay that have been used in the artifacts and the chemical properties. Why, sir, that the white marble suddenly started turning black, and now the ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India, has to preserve and conserve these monuments. We cannot let it be, oh, peela pad raha hai marble, to peela ho jane to. No, it needs to be preserved. And for this, you need to have the knowledge of equipments and the chemicals which are necessary for cleaning of artifacts and other chemical processes. You need to have a knowledge. You just cannot say, oh, it is becoming yellow, so let Taj Mahal turn yellow. We'll say Taj Mahal is yellow in color. No, the Taj Mahal needs to be preserved and needs to be conserved. And there is a methodology that needs to be followed. See, why am I putting a stress again and again on the two words? Because conservation and preservation is very, very essential when we talk about heritage management. What is management? How do you manage? How do you organize? How do you systematically, preserve these documents, whether in the form of folk song, whether in a form of folk stories, whether in a form of written sources, whether in the form of material sources? how and what needs to be done is very, very essential, my dear students, that you need to remember. Now, when we are talking about all this, as I mentioned, that many a times we as an individual student, in fact, do not realize the fact that these sources are not just important because we just go at a visitor, we go and see there. No, what do they give? They give us various schools of arts. They provide us with the knowledge of various school of arts and the development, how it took place. The knowledge and skills of making replicas, models of artifacts. How this model, how replica needs to be made. You need to have an in-depth study. Are you with me, my dear students? Try to understand better. And anywhere you feel that you are not enjoying, please open your textbook, keep it in front of your eyes, and I'm very sure you'll understand as to what sir is trying to tell us. Again, read the lesson. Before you watch my video, read the lesson. And if you have not read, no problem, read it and again watch my video. You'll understand as to what sir is talking about. We are going to study and understand how the fossil bones, how this needs to be taken care of. The knowledge of various approaches of managing an exhibition in museum, galleries and information technology. Writing research reports and articles. All these are important and essential part of what you can call it as, when we talk about in terms of sources of history, the conservation and preservation, my dear students. And in this context, we talked about the oral sources of history. We talked about the written sources of history. We discussed about the material sources of history and what is the necessary training that is required. In the next lecture, I've completed with 9.1 only, my dear students. I did not want to take you on a joyride on the day one, and you would have really got bored. My God, first day and the whole lecture. The next period, I'll complete 9.2, 3 and 4, all three together. And that time I will directly start with the topic. And as I mentioned, I'm going to use the textbook, my dear student. Why am I going to use the textbook? I make you understand as to which are the different museums that is there in Paris. What are the different kind of museum? What are these antiques? Who are called as the members of the elite families? What was the system that was existing in the medieval Europe? All that I will discuss in my next lecture. But I hope the entire concept of the chapter as to what is heritage management, what are the various ways that we need to conserve and preserve the oral sources, the written sources and the material sources is clear to you, my dear students. Sometimes trust in me. You literally feel like entering into the camera and holding the student and telling him, did you understand? But see, the drawback of the online teaching, my dear students, you cannot even shake the student and say that, what did you follow? Come on, speak, reply, tell me the answer. But I think each one of you, if you really take up the responsibility of following the 3 hours, read the lesson, review the lesson, what videos teachers are going to upload, and recap as to what is being done. Complete your notes, my dear student. And once when you write down your notes, my dear student, trust in me, you'll know as to what did sir teach through the online. Again reminding, 7 chapters in history, 4 chapters in political science, total 11. Are you getting it? So let our year 2000, that is 2021, be a year of remembrance for each one of us, my dear student. Let us say that, though we were, lockdown period, but we really have put in our best. Give your best, my dear student, and there is 2 more months to go. We may not meet live in the classroom, but be very sure that whatever, as you sow, so shall you reap. There are some students who are so systematically following every minute instruction, and there are some, God bless them. I have nothing to say. So I hope you have understood and followed the lesson. A last and a humble request that whenever you meet me on the orals, the first question I'm going to ask, how many of you have liked and subscribed my lesson? Please like and subscribe and watch my lessons. Tell your friends. Please call up sir if you have any doubts. If you have any doubt regarding the notes, everything that is there in the textbook needs to be written. No extra questions needs to be written. Only what is there behind every lesson needs to be completed. And this I'm reminding you since the month of October. I said, let me make it a final reminder, because 26th of Jan is the last day where you're going to complete your history notes. And I'll tell you the date as to when are you going to submit. It may be the next day immediately itself. And please remember, I don't want any book uncovered. It should compulsory have a brown cover with your standard division, name and roll number written neatly, correctly and clear on it. I am not going to listen to any excuse. I'm telling you right now also, 22 days in advance, 11 chapters, 2 days for each chapter that you can write. And you just need to remove a little bit of time from your busy schedule. I hope you have followed, my dear student. Thank you so much. Once again, wishing you a very happy, healthy, prosperous and a very beautiful academic year 2021. Thank you. God bless each one of you, my dear students.